We are back, Lions fans. Welcome back to Basement Banter. Um, we would like to just take a second, just like last week, to thank our sponsors, which is Andy Neer and Empire Contracting over here in Shelby, Michigan. If you have any roofing needs, please don't hesitate to reach out to them. We'll have more on that later in the show if you're interested.
Yeah. So it's the off season and things are starting to slow down. But I think we're just gaining steam. We're excited to be here. We've got stuff to talk about, and I don't think we'll run out of Lions things to talk about ever. So,
Well, we're not running out of Lions things to talk about. In fact, we've got a new segment for you guys this week, and that'll be coming up right here at the start of the show. So stay tuned for that.
definitely excited about that. And then we're going to talk in our main event about Tim Twentyman's 5 numbers to keep up and 5 numbers that need to change, and our thoughts. Those are based on an article he wrote for the 2023 Lions season recap.
And as we take a look around the league and other things going on here at the end of the show in our That Was Random section, stay tuned for Trouble in Atlanta, a little bit of a recap on what's going on there with the Falcons and their tampering policies and the repercussions that were handed down to them over this last week.
They are guilty. I'm just kidding. They are, but we'll go over that a little later. So let's start with this new segment. We're going to call it Quick Hits. And basically, it's going to be a segment that we bring to you guys because you guys are always putting stuff out on social media. It's always like a what if, or you think this, or you think that. So we're definitely going to use this segment to list a few that we see each week and give you guys a short answer on our thoughts. It's not necessarily going to be like a mailbag. We're just going to kind of, cherry pick these as we see them throughout the week, and then we're going to give our thoughts on them. So without further ado, Brendan, let's go onto that first one there.
So there was an NFL analyst this week that threw out a hypothetical of the Lions perhaps trading backup quarterback Hendon Hooker, and then to replace him signing Ryan Tannehill as Goff's backup, the former Tennessee Titans starter turned backup.
You want to give your thoughts on it first, or you want me to go?
Stupid. Don't ever. I'm gonna just say, miss me with that bullshit. That's all I'm gonna say.
This is where the banter starts. First on the episode. Here we go. Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff. You look at them; they can run the offense the exact same way. They are very close to the same type of player. Goff is obviously way better of a player, but as a backup, Tannehill would kind of match that, and I think that it would help Ben Johnson in his offense and run it the same way. Obviously at a lessened amount, but I think that I think he fits that mold a little better than Hendon Hooker.
You're disgusting.
I would rather trade the guy that's that's got some trade value and stuff right now if we can.
Okay, but let's be honest. What trade value does Hendon Hooker have? He came off a torn ACL.
Well, give him a camp. Give him a
preseason.
Give him a preseason. If he shows out, people might be offering a third or a second for him.
That's not gonna happen.
You never know.
Like if you're thinking you're going to get a third or a second, which would be better if not the same capital you spent to get Hooker originally, for somebody who hasn't played a single snap of actual football, and I know you're saying give him camp, that's still not a snap of actual football.
Yeah, it doesn't count. Yeah, no, I got you.
Nobody's going to give you anything less or anything more than like a 5th round selection in 2 years.
Okay, this is. I mean, I'll take it with a grain of salt. Same guy that calls Mitch Trubisky the MVP. So
he is the MVP. That's undisputed. He won that.
Oh my gosh.
He won that award.
Okay,
look it up. No, but I don't know. I don't think there's any sense in talking about that. I don't care. I know we don't know what we have in Hendon Hooker, but I want to see what we have in Hendon Hooker first. And I don't think Ryan Tannehill is anyone we should be mortgaging anything on, because that guy consistently like flashes in the pan and then fizzles out everywhere he goes.
Yeah, well, that's why I think maybe he would be a good backup, but we'll see. I don't know. I don't think that ever happens. It was just something that was thrown out there by an analyst, and he took about the same amount of heat from everybody else that I took from you right there. So
he should probably, instead of throwing that out there, he should have caught it and put it back in his pocket, because no one wants to hear that.
Save it for a rainy day and just hope it never rains. So, all right, the next one is some NFL owners are talking about wanting a quarterback salary So this would be a salary cap for the quarterback position only on each team, separate from the rest of the salary cap. And I'll go first on this one. Stupid. I think, where do you stop? You gonna give running backs a salary cap? You gonna? I mean, are we just gonna give salary caps to every position, or how's that gonna work? That's silly.
Yeah, that's not um, going to last very long because eventually, first of all, the NFL Players Association is not going to sign off on that because that means that you're essentially elevating the quarterback above every other position,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to devalue the other positions and mean they're going to make less money than they were originally because people are focused on the quarterback position. And I know you're saying like a certain amount of cap or a certain just have a cap just for the quarterbacks instead of attributing that to the rest. But it just doesn't. To me, it's just a recipe for disaster. It's going to create unrest among the other positions, and that could have you running towards another year off of football like we had back when the Players Association couldn't come to an agreement.
Well, where do you stop? I mean, do the second string quarterbacks get paid a certain amount? Does everybody? How does that work? That's silly. I mean, they'd figure that out the same as they're figuring out salary caps. But it just, when you have different position or the same position, different tiers and different levels of the same position, it just seems like it's a recipe for disaster. I do not like that idea at all. So
Yeah, no, I agree.
last one, what you got? No, second to
We got
last. We
two.
got four.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So the next one is was Matt Patricia the worst head coaching hire of all time for the Lions?
It's hard to think of a worse one. We had Marty Morningwig, who was terrible.
I'm
Uh,
gonna say yes, and that may be biased for me because I wasn't there for Marty Morningwig. I don't remember half that stuff. Um,
incompetent.
yeah. So
Here's the thing.
as far back as I can remember, the first time I started watching the Lions, their head coach was Jim Schwartz, and
Oh yeah,
then
old Jim
we
Shorts.
had
Yep.
Jim Caldwell, and then we had whatever. And I know we had Mooch at one time, but
Yep. Yep. He was kind of on his way out, I think, as far as coaching. I don't know. That might have been his last spot, but anyway, I agree. I think Matt Patricia was the worst. Um, you can make an argument that someone like Marty Morningwig was worse, or there might be a couple other ones that I'm not thinking of, but nobody was as good at driving out talent as Matt Patricia. He sucked at coaching as a head coach here. There are other people that sucked at coaching as a head coach, but they didn't drive out the Darius Slay talent and the I don't know I don't know who else we drove out. Kenny Galladay, I think, too. I mean, just who you gonna go? It just he drove everybody out. Nobody liked him. He treated the players like crap. And he was a sucky coach to boot. So yeah, definitely in my book, he was the worst head coach hire for the Lions. At least in the Super Bowl era.
and
So
just a quick note, I think if I remember right, the Kenny Galladay thing was not a Matt Patricia thing. I believe, if I remember right, and I could be wrong, I thought Kenny Galladay was on an expiring contract, and
yeah,
then
he wanted
And
money.
then Dan Campbell got hired, and they
Okay,
decided not to keep him.
okay, that was that year in between. Then it must
I
have
think
been.
so.
Okay, I got you. So they just decided not to pay him,
But
but
regardless, yes,
that
bad,
worked out.
awful coach, and Bob Quinn was an awful GM.
Yeah, it was a recipe for disaster. The whole thing. It
Obviously,
was terrible.
you won't be able to say that Quinn was the worst GM in Lions history because we know where that spot belongs.
Yeah, Matt Millen.
Yeah.
And that was an easy one. Thanks for the layup there. But yeah, shout out, thank you, Sheila Fordham, for coming in here and making the changes necessary and righting the ship that was wrong for a long time. So, the last one we have here for our quick hit segment is Badgley or Bates. Who will it be? We know that James Turner is now a Green Bay Packer. He's going to go there and see what happens there. Yeah, I know. They got their little consolation prize. Good for you guys. Green Bay, big ups to you guys. I hope you do great. No, I don't. But who do we think is going to be the starter at the beginning of the season? Are we going to end up seeing a Badgley or a Bates in there? And obviously, there's the popular one, and then there's the one that has experience and has done it for the Lions before.
I don't
So
think I have the energy to debate this one because I'm just so pissed off at the Lions for getting rid of James Turner. Like,
listen, Michael Badgley, I need to find it. I don't know where it is. I'm scouring the dark web for it. Michael Badgley has some kind of blackmail on someone on this Lions staff. Because why?
the only thing I could think of is the stuff that the media that they were allowed to see was showing them good things on James Turner, and there was something going on behind closed doors where he just was underperforming.
It's possible, but then I mean the Packers went and grabbed him immediately.
Or it's just a fact of the Lions were only willing to have one player at that spot that was going to be an uncertainty, which is Jake Bates, and then they were willing to take a steady-ish veteran in Badgley to kind of compete with them, and then if Bates develops and becomes that guy, then he's that guy, and then you just let Badgley go. But to me, I'd rather just if the best players at that point should be the ones competing for the spot, regardless of merit or
Yep.
their stance with the team. I don't really care. It's a business and it's football, and you need to. Badgley should have been the consolation prize for Green Bay, not James Turner.
So this is a good problem to have, and I'm never, I'm Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes fan through and through. Not that I ever really question much of what they do, but I would say if you had to choose one position that they don't seem to understand, kicker is just seems like it's a problem every year. The first 3 years we've had, it just seems like kicker has been underappreciated and almost not understood, I guess. And I don't know better than them. I'm not saying I do. Maybe Badgley's doing something that I don't see over Turner. But all reports, man, were pointing to Turner to the point where if we didn't get Bates, I'm like, okay, well, at least we have Turner. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Like you said, there's not enough energy in the world to try to debate this right now. Let's get into camp, see what happens.
Well, yeah.
Inevitably watch Badgley miss a bunch of freaking kicks.
Back to the point at hand. I guess if I had to say it would be Bates. And that's not even me saying Bates is outperforming Badgley at this point because obviously we haven't really heard
right. We don't know
on that field, but that's just me hoping to God that it's Bates over there.
Yeah. So are you doing that based on popular, or are you doing it because you like Bates, or are you doing it because you dislike Badgley? Which one are you
Both.
doing?
I think okay. I like Bates's upside. I think he's got upside. I think his problem is he's so inexperienced that he isn't going to be consistent all the time.
Mm-hmm.
That's something he has to develop into. But with Badgley, you know what you're going to get, and that's like consistent from 30 yards in, or 35 yards in.
Yep.
Anywhere above that, it's a 50-50 ball, whether that ball's going through the net.
Yeah, my thing is, all these kickers are going to miss kicks. If we would have gone Bates or Turner, realistically, Turner missed quite a few kicks in college as well. But my thing is, it's almost like what you're saying. Like Badgley's going to going to have a good chance within 30 to 38 yards, something like that. Whatever. Bates, he's going to have a little bit less of an opportunity, you're going to be less sure of him at that point just because of the unknowns. But rolling Bates out there, I'm going to feel a lot more confident with somebody that I have literally seen kick a 64-yard kick and make it in a game, in a professional sports game in the same stadium than Badgley, who I watched, try to kick a 45 and shanked it multiple times. So I'm looking at the guys that they both done it. It's not NFL, I know, but it's a kicker. If you got people running at you, it's the same thing as a kicker to me. So it's still professional sports, and it's in the same stadium. So,
well, for Dan Campbell, I suppose it's just more of a case of the devil you know at that point.
That's true. I see that, but that's what I'm saying. Like I just feel like it's an misunderstood and undervalued position, I guess, on this team for the last few years.
Yep.
So,
well, that's it for the new segment, Quick Hits. We're hoping to make that a regular thing, but for now, we're going to move into our main event.
Yes.
And we'll talk about some stuff going on in Lions training camp.
Yeah, training camp was announced, man. We got our dates. So, July 20th, the rookies have to report. And I think all the vets and everybody else is allowed to report at that time, but it's mandatory for the rookies to report. July 23rd is the official veterans start. So I haven't seen any dates on the open to public practices yet, but we definitely are keeping our eye open for that. Try to get a couple tickets to that.
Yeah,
so
we would love nothing more than to be in those stands in
for
Allen
sure,
Park watching
for
that.
sure. Yep. So we'll keep an eye out for that. We'll probably post it once we made sure we secure our tickets. We'll post it on there so everybody else can see, but we're keeping a close eye. So let's take a break real quick and let's give a shout out to our sponsor here.
This show is brought to you by Empire Contractors over here in Shelby, Michigan, on the west side of the state where we do our show, right along the lakeshore. Empire Contractors is a commercial roofing contractor who specializes in liquid applied roofing restoration. Check this out.
They can clean your existing roof, make some minor repairs, and apply a new thick coating system over your existing roof, avoiding expensive and nasty tear off, saving you about half the cost over other systems. Empire Contractors work the entire Great Lakes region.
Give them a call to see if your roof is a candidate. They can be reached at 231-861-7221 or by going to roofsbyempire.com. They are also on Facebook.
Continuing on with our main event here, Tim Twentyman put out two separate articles, but they're kind of related. So he was talking about the basically 5 numbers to keep up, and then the 5 numbers to change based on the last season for Detroit coming into this season. The first one he said was on 5 numbers to keep up. He put out that we had 88.8 rushing yards allowed per game last season. That was ranked second in the NFL. So we kind of did a fun thing, and we did kind of an over-under on some of these, and I'm going to set the over-under to 90 rush yards allowed. What do you think? Where do you think we'll end up based on our moves? Under?
Yeah.
You think we improve?
Well, I mean, that wouldn't be... Okay, so technicality, it wouldn't be improving technically because we
Right.
88.8.
Right. Do you think we improve upon the 88.8?
I think it's possible. I think adding DJ Reader, should he stay healthy, is going to be huge for that. There's going to be a lot more clogging in the middle, which means they're going to have to, a lot of the times the opposing teams are going to have to depend on outside zone runs rather than crashing through the A and B gaps right up the middle. So I think there's
DeAndre Swift would be smiling.
Yeah, so I think there's the only time we're going to have trouble is maybe against like a San Francisco where they're going to spread the ball out and get it to sideline a little bit, but honestly, I don't think, looking at the way we performed last year and the way the defense has improved on paper, I don't see why we shouldn't be the same, if not better, at defending the run this year.
Okay. I think we'll improve. I do. I think because they're gonna struggle. Other teams are gonna struggle to pass the ball more than they did last year. We're gonna be on our heels less. We're going to be ready to jam the line a little more. We're going to have more guys available because we've got guys that can actually cover, and we don't have to throw 2-3 guys at people. We will still do that with like a CeeDee Lamb or Justin Jefferson or whatever. But I think we've got people that can run with that wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 that we didn't necessarily have as much last year. So I think that is going to help us in the run defense as well. And I see us going under. I also see us improving on that 88.8 just a little bit. I'd say like 85. So, all right, what do we got for the next one?
We got 31 sacks allowed last year by the offensive line, and that was tied for 4th in the NFL. Our over-under here, 30.5. Will they allow over or under 30.5 sacks this year?
I'm going to actually say over. I think that our defense has improved. I think we've got, anywhere from the line, a defensive line.
Whoa.
I said offensive line, didn't I?
Whoa. No.
Okay, what?
You're going the opposite way. This is our offensive line allowed 31 sacks last year.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. I misheard you.
Yep.
I think I'm actually going to say over. Unfortunately, I think there will be more. I think we're going to take a little bit more of a dip there, and it's just because of inexperience and guys that haven't quite gelled together. I think the start to the season you're going to see more than we saw last year, but I think we will shore that up as the line gels. Um, that's basically why. I just we've got some new pieces that have to kind of fit in there, right? So
Yeah, I'm also gonna go over here just because we I don't know. Tied for fourth is pretty good. You're not gonna get much better than that. But then we lost in Jonah Jackson, who was really good. I know he was more of a run guy, run blocker than a pass pro guy, but he was still good in there. To
yep.
me, it just comes down to we don't have that mobile quarterback who's going to be able to evade
Oh
sacks.
man, don't throw mobile quarterback in Jared Goff right now. That's a hot topic. Holy
Well,
smokes.
if
That's why he's not ranked in the top 5, Brendan, just so you know, because he's not
I'm not
mobile.
saying that should knock him out of the top five. What I'm saying is it's going to
I know.
result in more
I
sacks
know.
because if a guy gets through, there's less chance that Goff is going to evade that guy because he just doesn't have that elusiveness to bend around guys. He's can step up and get around them sometimes, but more than likely, if there's a guy right in his face, he's getting hit and he's
we
going down.
we've talked about that. I think it was probably a couple months ago we talked about it where if that pocket collapses on Goff, Goff collapses. He just kind of
Yeah.
shuts it down. So
To me, that's the only flaw I see in Jared Goff's game right
yeah,
now.
yep. I get it. Yeah. Just there's it annoys me that people are actually throwing out there that he's not top 5 because of that. Does it help? Would it help? Yeah, probably, but it's not. Stats are stats. So anyway, next one, 850 and 10. Those are two numbers put into one. 850 yards and 10 touchdowns. That's Detroit ended up with 4 players to reach that mark last year. They were first in the NFL. Um, over under 3.5. So do you think we match it or improve, or do you think we're less than that next year? And who?
That is a tough one, just because that's such a big mark to
That's a big number.
reach.
Yep.
Um, but I think I'm gonna shock and I'm gonna go over here
Okay.
because last year we did that with some guys. Some guys that did that were inexperienced guys in their first year. That's gonna get better now because they're more, grown into themselves and they know their
Mm-hmm.
role on the team.
Yep.
It's gonna be a lot easier. I don't see why David Montgomery and Jameer Gibbs can't both replicate or improve on what they did last season.
Well, and that's a nice thing. Not to cut you off, but that you put an over under at 3.5, so you got to get to 4 guys to be over. Automatically, you got 2 in the backfield, or just in most thoughts.
Those are
Anyway,
probably the ones that are most likely going to do it. And then absolutely Amon Ra is going to
for
get
sure.
there.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's like, okay, so we're already at 3 there. So you're betting on one more guy to get there. It's either going to be Jameson Williams or Sam Laporta. One of those guys will do that.
Let me shock you farther. I think over 2, and I think both of those guys do that.
I think it's completely possible. Yes.
I think Goff's going to throw for touchdowns possibly in the high 30s or 40s. And I think we're going to end up with multiple players. And you also got to throw in there the fact that JMO he can run the ball too. We got some trick plays in which NFC Championship he scored a touchdown on. So just keep that in mind. There are some trick plays that we got going on that, maybe Goff doesn't throw all of these touchdowns or whatever, but touchdowns are touchdowns. And, you know, you don't know how you're going to end up with them. But I see 4 to 5 guys doing this year. Hopefully JMO steps up and this happens. So what's your next one? Oh, is that the last one?
No, we've got 2 more.
Okay.
So we've got 23.7 opponents starting field. Sorry. The opponent's starting field position was roughly at about the 23 and 3/4 yard line on the field. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was first in the NFL.
That's based on punts. That's based
Yeah.
on kickoffs. That's
Yeah.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Just
turnovers.
when they start their drive.
Yep. Overall.
Where are they?
First overall, man. That's crazy to look at.
So over under on
Shout
that
out Jack
25
Fox.
yards.
I think it's going to be. I think it'll be worse. I think it'll be over 25-yard line this year, and it's because of the kickoff thing. I think the kickoff change is going to inflate that number a lot for a lot of teams. We still got a hell of a punter in Jack Fox, who's going to continue to pin. But that kickoff is kind of the catch there for me. That's going to change
Yeah,
things.
I don't feel comfortable saying under just because I don't know what that kickoff's going to look like yet. I don't know if it's going to be more explosive. We've heard that it's going to be, but I mean, we've watched it. We watched it happen in the what was it, the XFL? Was that where they pulled that, or the UF, or was it the
I can't
UFL
remember, but yeah, it
combined?
was. I think it was. Yeah,
It was
I
one
don't
of
remember.
those
XFL.
semi-pro or under G League essential teams.
Hmm.
I just don't feel comfortable saying anything. 25 again. That's like a shockingly good
I was surprised to see that number.
mark. So I just don't. Anytime you're at the top of something, you're likely to take a dip at some point. So
Hmm.
I'm just gonna say I'll say it's gonna be over that.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I said why, but yeah. So the next one and the last one for this list here is 85 plays of 20 yards plus. We were second in the NFL, and we were only second to the explosive San Francisco 49ers. So over under 84 and a half plays of over 20 yards this year. What do you think?
I'm gonna say over.
Okay. Expand or not?
I just don't.
Over mic drop or
No, I just to me this one again is another hard one to replicate. But to me, it's like we have so many speed guys and so many guys that are good in open space.
yep.
I don't see how you can doubt that they couldn't replicate that.
Correct. I agree. Ben Johnson's back. The mad scientist is back. He's had another off season to sit here and, concoct different plays for his playbook. He's going to have JMO, who's going to have a full off season. He's got obviously all the weapons. We've got Laporta in a second year, not even a rookie anymore. We've got Jameer Gibbs in a second year. We've got the X Factor, possibly Slash. I'm not saying to expect him a ton, but Sion Vaki is going to be in there a couple times. You just never know, man. The weapons that we have that are so underrated. Like, if you guys think about it, I understand, like, if you look out there, everybody's like, okay, Sam Laporta might be the top tight end. Jameer Gibbs is in the top 5, blah, blah, blah. But if you look at, like, what people are saying about the Detroit Lions, they're saying we're good as a collective team. But Amon-Ra St. Brown is, like, the only one that's getting, like, these crazy, like, everybody thinks he's amazing and awesome. Like, if you look at all these other players, they're still flying under the radar. Like, Jameer Gibbs is still flying under the radar compared to what he can do and what he's capable of. Dude, he's in his second year. That was his rookie season, guys. Keep that in mind. Like, you guys should be we're excited. You guys should be super excited for this. We go over on this one. I have no doubt. Zero doubt.
Okay.
So,
So we'll move into the next list, which was again from Tim Twentyman. This is his 5 numbers that need to change for the Lions. So something this will essentially just be things that the Lions were poor at last season and they need to improve on.
yeah, and we're not going to look at this as an opportunity to be same old Lions fans. We're not going to do that. Basically, what we're saying is this is where we were. This is where we could improve, and what do we think? Is it going to happen or not? So,
Yeah. So the first one up, we have they allowed 247.4 yards per game average to opponents last season.
yeah, that's passing yards per
Yep.
game.
Yep.
Yep.
So that was 27th in the NFL. So they were right at the bottom of the league.
Mm-hmm.
Over under this year, 250 yards per game passing.
Under.
Okay.
Not by much. It's going to be like 230 ish. But we're not going to see it all go to one guy. We're not going to see a CD Lamb, whatever it was, 100 and some yards all the time. We're not going to be so nervous about, is Puka Nakua going to be the guy that's going to go like crazy on us? I think they're going to have to spread it out more. Teams are going to have to spread it out more, just because of our improved backfield and our defensive line. But I think it drops. I don't think it's going to drop drastically, but I would say like I'll say 228. I'm going to go 228 just to throw a number.
I'm gonna say under as well, and I'm not gonna say there's gonna be a drastic change. I still think we're probably gonna be in the bottom half of the league, and that's just because I still don't have faith in the Lions to get after the quarterback. I think Aiden Hutchinson has proven he can get there when he
Mm-hmm.
has help, and I think Aleem McNeil has proven he's good for like 3 or 4 games of breakout where he can get there, and the other ones he's just kind of clogged in the middle. I'm hoping that DJ Reader will free him up a little bit to get him out there a little more, and I'm hoping James Houston healthy will be good, but
Mm-hmm.
I just don't have faith in everyone to stay healthy and to get after the quarterback, which is going to result in the quarterback being able to sit back there, evaluate the defense for 10 seconds, and then throw the ball once a guy ends up outpacing a corner.
Just keep this in mind. I know you're saying Lee McNeil had some good games, which is true. He had some really good games, and then there were some where he almost disappeared, or he had some non-stats, I'll say, some non-stats. He was still there. He was still doing things, but he had non-stats. Ifitu Melifanu is a crazy good blitzer for the position he plays. Brian Branch, possibly going to be a good person for that. You got Jack Campbell, who I think is going to improve on that. As far as any kind of blitzes or anything like that. Do you put commission there to eat up some space? It's just I think we will improve on it. I just think we will.
I understand what you're saying there, but to me, yes, blitzes should not be used heavily.
I know.
There are very few. I think Spags does it well in Kansas City. He blitzes heavy, and he does really well. I think the Baltimore Ravens did pretty well with that as well. But to me, all that does is leave you vulnerable in spots, because if the quarterback picks that up, he knows there's going to be a gap somewhere in your defense.
Yeah. Well, and they've also, how do I want to say this? Spags. They've built a team around based on blitz. I mean they've built that around. The Lions aren't built. The Lions aren't built to blitz constantly.
And we
they
know
just
that's
aren't.
not what Aaron Glenn does.
Right. That's just not.
He's not blitz heavy.
We'll put the guys man to man on the line and hope that we can basically stick to them.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say slightly under, but we'll move on to the next one.
Yeah. So 35 drop passes last season. This one still weighs heavy on my heart after the last game of the season. 28th in the NFL. Setting the over-under right there at 34.5. What do you think?
I'm going to say under. I think last year
Okay.
was about as bad as it could get with drop passes. I think there were multiple times where the ball was directly in their hands and guys just lost focus. And
okay.
Here, some of those were Jamison Williams. A good amount of those, I think, were Jamison Williams, if I remember right. Those ones just might have stuck out to me.
I almost stole your thunder. I know where you're going with this. Go ahead.
Right? No, it's okay. He's just gotten more mature, and we've seen the growth from him. I think he's
stronger. You can see it.
Yeah, I think he's going to be able to catch those balls now. I think he showed he has vice grips. It's just I think he loses focus sometimes.
He's got to work on ball tracking. I hope that's what they're working on this year. I mean, if you look at some of the plays, he's turning his head this way, that way, this way, that way. And is it a golf underthrow or is it what is it? But I mean, it happens way too much. You guys go look at the film. Like he's turning his head. He's not tracking the ball last year very well.
Yeah, and I'm sure Josh Reynolds had a few of those last season. I know.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, he had the San Francisco one.
Okay, I was just gonna say I thought I was stealing your thunder when you were talking about JMO, because I thought you were gonna move on and say the person that had the most drops is not on the team anymore, and I'm not sure if that's the right stat, but based on this memory right here, which isn't great, I will give you that. I think he was possibly one of the top 2 people with drops last year. So
yeah, I'm not confident enough to say that. I just know I remember seeing guys drop passes. Amon-Ra was very rare when he dropped a pass. I know he did drop 1 or 2, but that he I don't worry about him at all. I don't worry about any of those guys. But that's why I guess that's why I'm saying it's going to be under, because I think the only person we have to worry about improving significantly to drop that number is Jamison Williams, and I think he's right on track to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you on that. Okay. What's our next one?
We got 66% of touchdowns after opponents entered the red zone. So every time somebody got inside the 20, driving down on us, they scored 66% of the time.
Yeah, that's rough.
That's not a touchdown. That's not field goals. That's just 66%.
Rough. Yeah, that's touchdowns. That's rough.
That's 29th in the NFL.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, so we're going to go over under 65.5% this year. So that's right in the same ballpark.
Yep.
I'm going to continue saying this. Under. If it's not under that, I don't know. You didn't improve at all. Like,
it's a failure of an offseason for the defense.
I could see if you're middle of the pack in that stat and you stay middle of the pack, then that's fine. Because, like, I mean, it's hard to jump that many teams.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're 29th in the NFL in something and you don't at least move up a few spots, that's bad.
That's bad. This one's a hard one. This is a hard one. I don't see, almost like you're saying with the drops last year. I don't see how. I don't see how we could get worse. I hope that there's not a world where we can get worse in that one. So just based on I don't have any stats or anything to base it on. I'm just hoping that we're getting better on this one. So I'm saying under 65.5. I just yeah.
That's 3 straight points that we've talked about where the Lions are bottom 4 or 5 teams in the NFL.
Yep. We're gonna get a little bit better here, but we'll
and all 3 of them were defense.
Yeah, that's why we spent
sorry, 2 of them were defense. 1 was offense. My bad.
That's why we spent so much on defense this year, I think, as far as, draft capital and everything else.
Yep.
But okay, next one. 23 giveaways by the Lions offense last season. 19th in the NFL. So we'll put it right there again. Over under 22.5. This is turnovers.
Man, I'm going to go again with under.
I do also want to throw out there that I do believe this includes failed fourth downs as well.
Okay,
just putting it out there.
I'm just going to say under because we're not. Maybe we stay the same with failed fourth down conversions because we know we're going to go for it on certain fourth down situations. Dan Campbell is not going to be steered away from that. That's just who he is. Jared Goff, I think, could stand to improve from a decision-making standpoint in terms of, holding on to the ball instead of just throwing it away or, throwing the ball and forcing something instead of throwing it away. I think I would rather see a drive end because you threw the ball out of bounds rather than see the drive end up in the other team's hands.
Yes, we had a little bit of a stretch there. I remember. I can't remember exactly what
games. The Bears game was really bad.
That was bad. I just remember there were a couple games where I think you and I actually looked at each other. I'm not speaking for you, but I think I remember it correctly. I think we looked at each other and we were like, Goff is not Goff right now. Something's not right. Like something is wrong because he was fumbling. He was holding the ball. He was.
I will say heartily that I said that Jared Goff needs to be off this team after that point. And that was just because I was frustrated, and Jared Goff was in one of the worst stretches of the season. We were heading towards playoff time, and I was definitely afraid that he was going to sell, and this team was not going to make the playoffs. Obviously, we know how it ended, and I'm a lot more confident in him now.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, I was ready to throw in the towel.
He had a little bit of that same old lion streak in his blood going up. It was there.
I mean, when you're turning the ball over to the Chicago
It was bad.
Bears,
I know. That was a bad stretch. It was a bad stretch. It was a bad stretch, but we digress. Basically, my thought is we improve. I think that's the same thing. I think we still end up kind of middle-ish of the pack because of Ben Johnson's I'm going to say Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson. Because of the way they run their offense, I think we take chances, we take shots, we do trick plays, and stuff's going to happen, man. Stuff's going to happen, but I think we improve upon that number a little bit. I think we're closer to 18-ish. So, all right, last one. You want to read off the last one?
Yeah, so last up we have the Lions defense sacking opposing quarterbacks 41 times last season. Tied for 23rd in the NFL, which was, obviously is bottom half of the league. Over under on that, 40.5.
All right, so this is where I can start, I guess, saying what I was saying way up at the top, right?
Yeah.
So let's go back to that. And we've already kind of talked about it when we were talking about the passing yards. I think we improve on this. First of all, think back to the Seahawks game. Atrocious. 0 sacks. Hardly any pressure other than Aiden Hutchinson. Hardly any pressure. I don't think we have as many games that feel like that this year. I think, like I was saying, we got Iffy that can get in there if we have to. We're going to do some things. Aaron Glenn's defense is going to open up a little bit because of the secondary and the improvements. We don't have Cam Sutton back there and Kindle Vildor that were on a freaking wing and a prayer hoping that he can guard somebody for more than 5 seconds. Like, we've got people back there that hopefully can do this. We're going to have our cornerback one, Terrion Arnold, by week 8. Nothing, no reaction. Wow, okay, you're over there sleeping. I caught him sleeping. I think we improve on this. I think I'm going to put it. We're going to be over 50 sacks on this season, and it's Hutch is going to have 18 of them or more.
I'm going to say under.
You're sickening.
I know.
You
I'll
make
make
me
some
sick.
people mad here, but I don't have the faith in that defensive line to improve that mark at this point.
James Houston, man, he was out.
That's fine, but James Houston is still, while he generates pressure, that doesn't turn into sacks.
Okay.
All the time.
Okay.
To me, I think Aiden Hutchinson, yes, is going to be good for 10 sacks or more this season, right? To me, the rest of them, I could see them combining for like 25 sacks. Maybe you get to 30 or so, but I just don't think you're going to eclipse a 40 sack mark with the guys you have on this team. Right?
Okay. See, that might be the difference. I think I'm with you on the number of the secondary guys, but I've got Hutch at 18 this year. That's my number.
I personally
Hutch is
think
ready to
his
break.
ceiling is there where he could get to that point. I don't see it happen.
He's going to break. I'm telling you, with DJ Reader in there. If the defense stays healthy and the secondary is what we hope it is, I will go on record right now saying Hutch will have 18. That's my prediction.
Well,
so
I love Aiden Hutchinson. I don't think he gets more than 15 this year.
Man, he's trying to earn that extension. I'm just kidding. we don't do that here in Detroit. We've already said it. All right, so that's what we had for our main event. Next, we're going to move on to that was random section, and we've kind of told you guys at the beginning of the show, and we tell you every week. This is where we take a chance to pull in other happenings around sports, whether it's NFL or NBA or some golf, whatever it is, and we just throw it out there just as a fun thing to kind of keep you guys interested in things outside of the Lions. So, without further ado,
starting off in the NBA, we have crowned the champions. The Boston Celtics won their, I believe, 18th title, which surpassed the tie that they had with the Los Angeles Lakers for the most in NBA history. So, I mean, not surprising that the Celtics are atop that. They're one of the most storied franchises in sports.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah.
Congrats to the Boston Celtics for winning the championship of the most boring NBA season I've ever watched.
You think that's the most boring, like over the bubble?
It was boring. I was more interested in the bubble than I was interested in this season. The season sucked. Pistons sucked. The coaching was bad in Detroit. This whole postseason sucked. It was boring. I was over it. I was over it. It was boring.
Well, yeah, I don't really care. I think Jason Tatum is the most cringiest person I've ever seen. Just watching him try to recreate every legendary sports moment after winning a championship ever. Did you see that?
Yes.
So he's like doing the Kobe holding the trophy in the locker room.
Yeah.
He did we did it.
Yeah.
We did it at the end, yelling.
He doesn't. I don't like him. I'm not a big fan of him at all. I never have been. He doesn't have an original bone in his body.
I think it's hilarious. To me, it's hilarious that he's like so cocky about it too, because he wasn't even the best player on his team.
He wasn't even he was the third best player on his team this year.
Jaylen Brown had an insane, year and an insane postseason.
Shout out Derek White, second best player on that team.
Yeah.
I'll go on record with that too.
He got back from the dentist too.
That was crazy when they showed that in slow motion. That was the highlight of the entire series. Anyway, so the only person I'm happy for is Al Horford, because he's played, I think, 19 seasons or something like that. He's finally got an NBA championship. I like him. I was a big fan of his. I don't know. He's just one of those guys that it's random, I know, but this is random, and that was random.
I couldn't give a crap about Al Horford.
Okay, whatever.
I was more happy for Peyton Pritchard than I was.
Anyway, let's move on. What? Okay, let's move on. So Atlanta, we're going to Atlanta.
Wait. Before we move out of the NBA, we might as well talk about what happened with the Pistons this week.
I don't want to talk about
Can
what
we not
happened with the
talk?
Pistons. I mean, I'm happy with it. I'm good with
I
it,
know, but
but
we have to
until
talk.
we do some
They
things.
made a change at least. We know that their new GM Trajan Langdon has been making moves. He got rid of Troy Weaver,
Mm-hmm.
and they also this week got rid of Monty Williams.
But Gores is the one who made the decision, though. Everybody had to make sure to throw that out there.
Okay, whatever.
I
Well,
know it's stupid, but I'm just saying the
Monty Williams
glazing
is
of Gores
gone,
is
which
sickening to me
I
right
was
now.
excited when Monty Williams came here because I thought he could be something good, but he just has shown that he's incompetent as a coach.
Oh, I mean, he literally, when he
He doesn't know who he's putting in when,
No,
and
no. There's literally
yeah.
that quote about Isaiah Livers, and they asked why he decided to put Isaiah Livers in there, and he said something about like I didn't even think about it. I just decided to put him in there. Essentially,
They asked why he wasn't starting Isaiah Livers or whatever because he was playing.
Oh, he
Well.
said I didn't even think about
He said I
Isaiah
didn't
Livers.
even think about it.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, so basically what we're saying is we're now without a head coach. And JJ Redick is gone. He's going to the Lakers. So now we're just waiting. We're going through and looking to see who the next Arn Tellem guy is that's available because he will be the next coach, I'm sure.
Well, there's a few guys that are out there that have been connected, but and I don't want to see this happen at this point. We're not in a position to take a swing like this, but like Chauncey Billups is out there. I've heard that around, but I don't think he's ready to be a coach of a team like this.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think so. I would hate for that on his coaching legacy. I'll put it that way.
Well, I mean,
I don't want
honestly,
that
what is
for
on
him.
his coaching legacy right now? He had the Blazers, and
Yep,
we know what the Blazers have kind of fizzled out into. And had to
they sold
get
though.
rid of Dame,
Yeah,
and
yeah, they basically sold. I mean, they sold out. So,
yeah.
yeah. So can we move on to Atlanta now? Are we
Yeah,
allowed to do that?
yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's great. Okay. Atlanta Falcons on Thursday. They were docked a 5th-round pick in 2025 draft and fined $250,000 for violating the NFL's anti-tampering policy related to free agent signings, while the league cleared the Philadelphia Eagles of tampering while signing running back Saquon Barkley this offseason. So there was some question about how they talked to Saquon Barkley. They cleared the Eagles of that. Sucks because I wish the Eagles would have gotten in trouble for it over Atlanta. But basically, a couple things to list here, and we can take turns going down and kind of saying what we think about it too. So I'll take the first one. Tampering violations for the Falcons were a result of improper contact with 3 players prior to their official unrestricted free agent period. Quarterback Kirk Cousins, wide receiver Darnell Mooney, and tight end Charlie Warner. So, I don't know. You want me to just read all of this, and then we'll just go see what we think. See what we think, I guess.
Yeah, go for it.
All right. So, in addition to the team policies, the NFL fined Falcons general manager $50,000, which is basically like what he spends at the bar every night, I guess, probably. After Kirk Cousins, I think he might have been the one who tattled on him a little bit, not on purpose. And I'll tell you what I think happened here. After Kirk Cousins was signed to a 4-year deal worth up to $180 million on the first official day of free agency, like immediately, he indicated during his introductory news conference that he spoke with the Falcons head trainer before 4 p.m. Eastern on March 13th when the new league year began. So he went up there and admitted it without. I don't think it was on purpose.
Well, whatever. Kirk Cousins is just an honest guy. It's who he is. He's not thinking about that, and that's just shame on the Falcons. They shouldn't have approached him in any way. Of course, they should be penalized for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever. It's not like they lost a draft pick. Whatever, and they lost a little bit of money.
Right. Not a big deal. But is this why we were shocked on the first day of the draft and we saw Michael Penix Jr.? Is it possible that they are not happy with Kirk Cousins for this?
No.
You don't think so?
No, I think
not even a possibility.
To me, it's
that Penix Jr. pick was so
it was shocking
off the wall.
It was shocking, but the thing, I think it was a bad pick value wise, and I know whatever. Roll your eyes because of Brad Holmes, but value-wise, it was a bad pick because your top 10, you have holes you need to fill on your roster. You just signed a franchise quarterback that you assume is going to be your franchise quarterback
that you paid
for
a
another
crap
4 or
ton of money
5
to.
years.
Yep.
And instead of filling holes around that guy, you decide that you're going to take a successor, which was weird. It was just weird. I understand the move because what they're thinking is, looking at the upcoming draft classes, there is not going to be another chance to snag a player of this caliber. So we better do it now before someone else does. Because Michael Penix realistically was going to be gone in that 10 to 20 range, most likely. Somebody was either going to pull the trigger or move up to get him. I don't doubt that the Broncos or the Raiders or someone like that would have taken Michael Penix.
That's perfectly fine, but
I understand what they're doing. Was it stupid? Yes.
Okay.
Did they do it? Yes. I don't think it had any
Okay.
reflection on Kirk Cousins other than maybe they're like, well, we also want an insurance policy in case his injury doesn't come back the way we want it and he ends up going down, or he's aging and we don't know how durable he's going to be going forward. So,
All right. Or he spilled the beans and we're pissed at him. I don't know.
I mean, I guess if that's what you want to take from it,
That's. I was just throwing it out there
some things
as a hypothetical option. I'm not saying that is for sure the thing, but it was really weird. So,
yeah.
So that was that was random section. We're good with that. So, that brings us to the end of our show. I just want to kind of throw out there, we are still looking for some subs on YouTube. We need 300 subs, and we're going to give away this card right here. Again, it's on our X, so you guys check it out at Lions Banter. You can also find us on YouTube at Lions Banter. Go there, give us a sub, and have a chance at winning that. We also just are going to give away a T-shirt that we ran for a donation, having you guys donate to a very good cause. We got all sorts of things going on. We got, Righteous Felon Craft Jerky. You guys can check that out. It's been, going down here on our ticker. We got Buy Me a Coffee if you feel like you want to donate to the show and see some other cool things. My wife got me for Father's Day the All Grit sign in the back. That's pretty awesome. I had to point that out. Shout out to her for that. But yeah, other than that, I think we're good for another week, and we'll be here on socials, but we'll be back here in the studio next week.
Yep. As always, go Lions.
Go Lions, baby.